Well, we put our beds in 2013, and here's some pictures showing the progression of it. We started off with just 5 beds from reclaimed wood. Then I had to level off the area and square everything up. And here's the greens beds. There's a number of different beds that are stacked on top of one another. And there's me in the yard laying everything out. That's a good picture of what they look like before the caps are on. And that's them all spaced out, and you'll notice that there's a line that keeps them all level, and that's after filling them with dirt, getting ready for the plants. And once again, this is all in 2013, and we had beans, we had 16 tomato plants. That's a good picture of the bean trellis there before the beans went up. That's the tomato plants that we put in, a bunch of different varieties. That's a different view with our home in the backyard. And when we started off, we had just grass in between the beds, which made it really difficult to keep the weeds down. It was difficult to mow around them. So you'll notice in the pictures coming up that we decided to put gravel in, and the gravel made it a lot nicer to do gardening. Even though it brought the heat up a little bit, it kept the heat good for plants like tomatoes, and it just had a clean look to it. And that's the tomato cages that I used at a concrete reinforcement wire, and that worked out really well. There's another picture of the bean trellis. And I tried doing hay with the tomato plants. That didn't work out that well. There's a shade cover. And then what we have here is squash plants, and the squash grow really well here in the south. We had tomato plants that were, absolutely huge in the backyard, and we get filtered sunlight. So here's some pictures of after we put the gravel in, and it just had a really clean, nice look. And that's before we put the plants in. I believe that was 2016. And then the next thing that we have is just a portrait view of it from our back deck. And here's more recent views, and this is the damage that happens after about 4 to 5 years. There was a lot of decay. I thought the cedar would have weathered a lot better. I've had to do a lot of repairs within the last couple years, which they started off really well, but you'll notice here that I just had to use screws. It started off with them interlocking one another, but the interlocking pieces, as you see right here, they begin to get loose and they just pull away from the wood. And the wood doesn't age that well. If you're looking for a permanent solution, I wouldn't recommend these beds, but they were very easy to put down, and they've lasted for 5 years. Here you'll see some rot just from the wet and moisture that it actually decayed and caused some dry rot on this particular cap. And now the very next picture is just seeing the detail. This one they actually stayed connected fairly well, but overall they've worked out very, very well.